now that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, Entonces, chicos, hoy vamos a tener a Frankie, que es un profesor de inglés aquí en Australia y es un estudiante de Latinoz, aunque él es británico. Like where we were saying that you're británicos in Australia. Entonces, bueno, es muy importante que tengamos variedad de experiencias y de entrevistas aquí para que ustedes tengan un poquito más de inspiración y puedan ver lo que pasa en la vida de los estudiantes aquí en Australia. Entonces, pues le pedí a Frankie que nos aceptara esta entrevista para poder mostrarles un poquito de lo que viven otros estudiantes de otros países aquí. Hola a todos los que están saludando en Instagram. Perdón que no puedo decirles uno por uno, pero bueno. Ahora voy a ir directo con Frankie para que se presente. So, Frankie, here you are. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. I'm very happy and very nervous to have you here. Please excuse my English.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, Paulina. Really happy to be on your channel here today.
Well, we've met a few times before when you're teaching and, you know, when you were a student of Latinoz. But this is different. But here, at the moment, you're going to talk about your experience as a student and also as an English teacher here in Australia. So I want you to first introduce yourself so the audience can learn a little bit more about you because they've seen you, some of them, while you're teaching. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Frankie and I'm from the UK. I was born and raised in London. And I came to Australia in 2015 in August, originally on a working holiday visa, where I worked as an English teacher and have done since I arrived. And since August 2017, I've been on a student visa. I studied fitness at the beginning, and now I study commercial cookery.
Wow, that's been a journey, right? Like you started out like a worker, basically just coming to Australia to work. This is quite not usual for Latin students. Just a few countries in Latin America have that chance to apply for a working holiday visa. So can you tell us a little bit about that visa? What does it allow you to do?
Yeah, so it's normally for 1 year. And you can work full-time, but you have a limit of 6 months per employer. So if you work for one employer for 6 months, then you would need to change to the other employer for the next 6 months. And at the time that I did it, the working holiday visa, the regulation was that I needed to do 3 months of regional work within my first year in order to be able to apply for an extension, so a 1 year extension to my visa. So I did that in April 2016. I worked for 3 months on a farm in first Shepparton in Mildura, and that gave me 1 more year on the next working holiday visa.
That's amazing. So that was 2 years then working under the holiday visa, under the working holiday visa, and then you moved on to the student visa.
Yes.
How was the transition? How was it for you? Did it go smoothly or was it a bit tricky?
I really enjoyed being a student. I still do. It was very different though. And I think the biggest difference for me was an increase in maybe since I arrived, stress or busyness, or your time was a little bit more stretched. Maybe the energy was a bit more stretched because on a student visa, I was doing 2 jobs, working and studying. And I found that on the working holiday, maybe the lifestyle was a little bit more relaxed. So I think that was the biggest difference that I noticed. However, I found it was great for my social life. I met people from all over the world and had a chance to develop my skills, and sometimes the busyness was good to keep me occupied as well. So it was different, but I really have enjoyed it a lot on the student.
Well, that you just said, it's quite important because most of the students from Latin America come here under a student visa. So sometimes when they arrive, they face a reality that involves, you know, working part-time and then studying part-time. Well, it's actually called full-time because it's 20 hours a week. However, you basically spend half of your day studying and then the other half working most of the times, or sometimes the weekends, you know. So just like you said, you are not under control or complete on control of your schedules, and you're busy all the time. So you have to worry a little bit about finding work shifts that work with your timetables at school. So it's a challenge at the beginning, but once you manage and you learn to prioritize, you can totally do it, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's manageable. So now, Frankie, tell me a little bit about your previous life before Australia. What were you doing in London, and why did you choose Australia to come to study?
So I had graduated from my undergraduate degree in 2013, July 2013. And in those 2 years between graduating and coming to Australia, I was enjoying my life. I had a few different jobs. I was working in hospitality. I was working as a educational instructor for a charity in different schools, as well as some journalism work. But I was living with my parents, and I was finding maybe a feeling that I wasn't growing as much as I wanted, and I was seeking a change to develop myself. And a colleague that I had in the educational charity that I mentioned, he'd worked in Australia teaching English a few years ago. So he advised me that Australia was a good place to go. So I took his suggestion and I looked into Australian visas, and I thought Australia would be a good match for me and my personality, and to also grow my independence.
In terms of like what attracted you to Australia, what were the main features that you looked into? Like, for example, the weather or the lifestyle or the nature? Like, what were you looking for apart from, of course, a change in your life?
I think a number of factors. So sport was a big one for me because I've always loved sport and I really enjoy watching sport as well as playing sport. And I knew about the different global sports events that were in Melbourne, like the Australian Open. I like my cricket, so the Grand Prix as well, and the AFL. And I realized that, and I'm also a keen runner myself, I run a lot. So I knew that there would be good opportunities for me to enjoy an active lifestyle in Australia. It's very outdoorsy, very energetic culture. So I thought that would suit me really well. And as you mentioned, the weather was a big factor as well. I realized that that would be a good change for me to experience some brighter, warmer weather, because it's quite cold and grim sometimes in the UK.
Very similar to what we have now in Melbourne, right?
Yeah,
is it still better for you, like what we have here in winter?
Yeah, the winters, it's considerably different actually. So I was in UK at Christmas, visiting home, and it was winter time at Christmas. So it was very cold,
snowy,
dark, even a bit of frost in the air. Didn't actually snow, but you could feel that it had that thick sort of cold that got into your lungs and everything. But here in Australia, it's a little bit milder in the winter.
Oh, that's great. Because you know that, of course, for us coming from Latin America, winter here in Melbourne is quite chilly. Like it gets a little bit cold. But of course, comparing to the UK, people from the Northern Hemisphere, it's not that bad. It's actually very manageable.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was. And I think I had a shock when I went back at winter in the UK to experience the difference again.
It's like, how did I do it before? Yeah. Like, exactly. How did I stand it? Okay, so weather was a big factor, of course. Also, the lifestyle that is very sporty, and people like to, you know, I've seen people running while they're having lunch during the lunch break. So they also make time whenever they can to go have a jog. So it's actually something very, very natural and very common here in Australia. How about in the UK? Like, is it similar or not really?
So I think the best comparison for me to give would be London compared to Melbourne, because I grew up in London, spent the majority of my life in the UK in London. And it is comparable with Melbourne in the sense that they're both multicultural cities, very vibrant, energetic cities with cultural festivals and different food from all over the world, music, carnivals. So they both have a lot of energy. I would say that in terms of livability, Melbourne, it's slightly more convenient and somehow efficient to live here. You can travel around a bit easier. In London, there's a lot of many different central points all over the city. So you can often be traveling and spending your whole day traveling. So organizing your time is quite difficult and it's oftentimes very busy and stressful. Whereas I find Melbourne is more relaxed, easygoing, and it's maybe also a little bit easier to make friends in Melbourne sometimes because London, it's so vast, so big, that you can get lost a little bit, maybe as a newcomer especially. But Melbourne, there's very much a good student culture, and I find that that gives people, newcomers, a good community at the beginning.
Yeah, it gives you like a sense of belonging, like you're part of a group, because there are so many students that basically most of the people that you meet are in the same situation. So it makes you feel a little bit familiar somehow.
Yes.
So good now.
Okay.
Okay, so, oh, perfect. So I'm gonna repeat the question. So what I was saying is that coming from the UK, of course, you were a native speaker and you had the opportunity to become an English teacher while you were a student here in Melbourne. So you also, had the chance to meet other people from other countries, but now being a teacher. How was that? Like, how did you start teaching in Australia?
Okay. Yeah, I picked that question up just about early. It was a bit intermittent, but I got the gist of it. So basically, I've found it really awesome to meet people from all over the world. And it's been a very, it's broadened my perspective on the world. I think living in London, you only know what you know, and you only know the communities and the friendship groups that you've always had. But coming to Melbourne, I've learned about how other nationalities and cultures view the world and different perspectives and cultural activities like food and dance and having fun and living in the moment, and maybe different from how things may be more in the UK. Maybe I've just picked up a real sense of fun and energy and enjoying life from the different cultures that I've met, which has been phenomenal. And I'm very lucky to be a teacher because every day when we were in the classroom, I could sample that almost expression and people positive energy. For me, that was really infectious to be around different nationalities from all over the world and learning about ways to enjoy yourself and to express yourself. And that was really, actually, it's been probably the highlight, to be honest, of my time in Australia, learning about that.
So that's really nourishing your experience.
For sure, yeah.
Okay. And how did you come up with teaching? How did it happen? Because when you first came to Australia, you started with the working holiday visa, and then you moved on to all the student visa with the fitness courses. So you're also a professional in fitness now. You have the qualifications and everything, but you're also combining with English teaching. So how did it happen? How did you come across?
Yeah, so I've always loved sport and fitness, as I said before, and I think when it came to the point when I realized I wanted to stay longer in Australia, I needed to make a decision about how. And I hadn't been able to get a sponsorship through English teaching, nor any of the schools that I taught at had been able to give me a skilled visa of any kind. So that meant I had to look for another way to stay. So at that moment, I was thinking, what would I enjoy doing? And fitness came to my mind as a easy option because I've always loved it. And I've found that I've enjoyed having the two different elements. So the fitness knowledge that I gained, I can apply to myself. Even if it's not my career yet, I can still use it in my life, my training. And at some point, I can filter it in. And it's good to have it as a secondary option. But I really love teaching as my number one passion. But at the same time, I'm open to growing myself as a fitness instructor as well. So I think it's nice to have two options.
Yeah, like you can actually make use of all of your skills and combine them at the same time. Like you don't really have to choose between one or the other. It's like whatever life brings to your life, you can take.
Absolutely.
So, and just one thing, because here in Australia, as you've seen, and now that you mention it, there are lots of courses, different types of options that students have, so they can specialize and professionalize in probably something that they love, like fitness, or they can cook, or they can do heaps of things that involve a qualification. Is it the same in the UK? Do you have the same system, the education system in the UK?
Well,
or is it different?
It's a little different. From my perspective, it seems a lot easier here because a big factor in that is the fact that you can work for 20 hours a week on the student visa in Australia, whereas in the UK, there's no work allowance. And I think immediately that creates a barrier or a problem to starting out there because there's a difficulty in getting work. Whereas in Australia, it's far easier. It gives people an opportunity, a fair chance to actually combine their development as a student also with their profession. So
True.
I think from that perspective, Australia has a really good system and it gives people an opportunity. And I think it's a really great place for people to come and study.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not that I don't like the UK, of course, I love the UK. But I think in that sense, yes, Australia has a very good advantage over other countries because, as you said, like you can combine your studies, but also your professional experience and at the same time make some money because, of course, Australia is very well paid, even though, you know, like most of the times when you come as a student, you start out basically with the same kind of jobs. Like everyone has to go through most of the same types of jobs, like, you know, waiters and things like that. But even though some people, like in Latin America, we think that it's not the best option, even though we think that it's like that, here is actually a very good work, like a very good job you can start with, because you can save up money and you can also plan for the future. So it's a very good environment because you don't feel that pressure, because Australia is also very expensive to live in. So having that chance to work is a very good plus.
Massively. I think that's another good point, is that wages for all different kinds of job is pretty well paid, even in comparison to the UK as well, like manual labor, hospitality work, construction. These kinds of jobs are paid very well. So it gives you enough of a financial cushion to actually live and survive and actually be comfortable. Even if there's a lot of payments, you can just about manage it. So I think you get enough of an opportunity at least to have a chance here in Australia.
I agree. And now, Frankie, tell us about your project, because even though you're a student, you're still trying to complete your own projects. And one of them is your channel, your YouTube channel, Frankie Says IELTS. So tell us a little bit about how it started and when did you see the opportunity to come up with this idea and make it happen?
Yeah, so obviously with COVID, when that struck and everything went online and everyone was learning from home, I thought initially it would be great to stay connected with the students that I had taught before, and also try and share my knowledge, and if I could help people in some way with their journeys, with their IELTS tests that they may have to do for their visa, then this would be a really good way for me to use my time. And initially in lockdown, as everyone's been experiencing, it's sometimes quite soulless, quite challenging. So I think to put my focus in something that was positive and constructive for me was helpful. And also from a personal and professional development point of view, I see it as a chance to grow a business and to have another
like
point of salary, another side project as well. So that was how it started and when it started. So it would have been back in April when the lockdown first came up.
Yeah, because I remember we started talking about it when we met.
Yes.
So it's been almost 4 months, or basically 4 months now. And how has it grown? Like, have you seen that it's working? What's your plan to grow it? Do you want it to continue, or maybe it's something that you're gonna do in your spare time? Because actually I see a lot of potential, so you can grow in the future and keep it as a permanent thing. But how do you see it?
Yeah, I really want to grow it, actually, Paulina. That's a real goal of mine. And I feel like the ideas have been forming the last 4 months, as you said, and I've started to increase the engagement with my followers. So I've started some Instagram live classes last week. And
yes, tonight we have one, right?
Absolutely. So there's going to be another one tonight, Monday. So every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. It will focus either on the essay, the letter, or the graph. And people can follow the PowerPoint, receive the question and the planning template, write their answer and email me a copy. And also this week I'm doing some Zoom classes. I've put a flyer up that people can see the time that they could book a session and also the cost of that. And I want to have both of these platforms. The Instagram Live is one people can use. It's on a free basis. It's donations based, so people can contribute something small if they wish, but it's also a chance for people to just get the habit going of writing the graph and the essay and doing it on an accessible form like Instagram. Whereas the Zoom one, maybe you can get more engagement because you can communicate with someone via Zoom. So I think I want to grow these two platforms, Zoom and Instagram, and just look at social media as well, how I can use it a bit more tactically, strategically, and to increase my following and things like that.
Yeah, because at the moment you have totally focusing on the YouTube channel, like you're making some videos and you are explaining mainly things related to writing on IELTS, but also I think one of the advantages that you have is that through Facebook and, for example, Instagram, you can share a lot of content and students can benefit from that. Like, it's not just about the classes, and maybe sometimes perhaps the times are not going to be perfect for them, especially if they're, for example, now watching from other countries. But even though they're not present in the session, they can still get access to your platforms, to your materials. And this is something that you're doing also based on generosity, because you have recognized that most of the students do need a little bit of extra help outside the classroom, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel that I have a lot of friends who have taken the IELTS test and the PTE test, and I've seen the struggle that they've had to face, and especially accounting and certain highly demanded professions. They set the IELTS score very high.
So
There's a very high
high.
requirement.
Yeah.
So I think that giving my friends some assistance in that process opened my eyes to what I could potentially do to maybe help others as well. And yeah, so that's definitely been a motivation, and because it is very much worth the struggle. I think if somebody could get that score they needed, it's very valuable for their future in terms of visa applications and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're providing the help and it's one-on-one, so they can basically have a private tuition from an expert, because you're very into the IELTS test, and sometimes it gets tricky. Most of the students, well, from what I've seen, the writing component gets a little bit difficult for them, especially, for example, I got, I don't know, 8.5 on all the bands except for writing, and I never knew why. Like, why? But still, you still have to learn a specific structure and words, and you know, like, it's very specific. It's not just about writing or spelling correctly. Like, there are a lot of, it's a set of criteria or set of factors that will give you a better score. So you do need someone to tell you how to do it correctly.
Absolutely. I feel that's where the practice comes in, because it's often not about the knowledge side. It's more about having the repetition to repeat that structure that they're looking for. And yeah, the more you can expose yourself to it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, you sort of learn it by heart. Like, you already know, okay, introduction is going to be 1.5 lines, and it's going to be a paragraph of, I don't know, this length, and it's going to involve these 2 sentences. So it's kind of like a formula.
It is. And
or a recipe.
Yeah, because you only get 1 hour in the writing to do the graph and the essay. So the more awareness of the structure you have going in, the more time you can give yourself as well in that exam.
Yeah. Let me just give your little announcement so people know that you're going to teach them today, well, tonight here in Australia. Entonces, chicos, si ustedes quieren tomar clase con Frankie, hoy va a tener todos los lunes y los miércoles de aquí de Australia, tiene clases a las 8 de la noche en Instagram, y también va a empezar a hacer clases en Zoom, porque pues él es un experto en IELTS, entonces puede ayudarles mucho. Y si ustedes quieren hacer bookings online para tener clases personalizadas con él, también lo pueden hacer. Mientras, si ustedes quieren venir a Australia en el futuro, es una súper buena opción para que puedan ir mejorando. Done. Did you get something? Have you learned a little bit of Spanish?
Yes, I have. I picked out, it's a good option for improving. You can search on Instagram. So yeah, I picked up some of the words.
Good on ya. It's very good. Oh my God, that's very difficult because, of course, some of your friends are from Latin America here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you've learned actually some Spanish as well.
Yes, I have. He aprendido alguno español.
Muy bien! Very good, Frankie, very good. I wonder if we sound as cute as people from, you know, like English-speaking countries sound when they speak Spanish. I wonder if our English sounds like that. I don't know.
Absolutely, 100%. It's great.
Oh, really? Is it? I don't know. I just hear my own accent and it's like, Jesus Christ. But I wonder if it sounds the same. It's like so cute.
Yeah, it's really nice, Paulina. I like it.
Oh, thank you. So tell me, Frankie, just to finish, because we're going to be over the 45 minutes, but I wanted to ask you, what's something that you don't like about Australia? Like could be anything. Something that you actually could change.
Okay.
If you could.
If I would change something, I would maybe make the paperwork, the admin side of things, just a little bit simpler. So
lots of red tape, right?
Yeah, lots of red tape. And I think, for example, as a personal trainer, I've qualified as a personal trainer. In order to use like the Botanic Gardens or Carlton Gardens to start a session, I would need to go through quite a long process to apply. And maybe that can sometimes put you off starting some new idea if there's a lot of paperwork involved.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
you know, on the other hand, yeah, it's, I understand why it's there, but that would be maybe something I would change.
But they
Yeah.
could probably simplify it. Like, it doesn't have to be
Yes.
so difficult. I agree with you. Like, now that I have my own business, so sometimes it's just too much. And especially in a second language, you really have to have someone to translate everything for me, even though I understand, like I get the meaning of the words, but putting all together and getting the idea, sometimes it's just so difficult and lots of processes. And yeah, I never thought of that. In terms of distance, what do you think about the distance between Australia and the UK? Like, is it easier for you? Is it easy for you to go visit your family, or how about that?
That's another factor. So it's very far, and yeah, so going home, you can't just go every couple of months, like I would be able to if it was France, for example. So it's very much, when you go, you've got to plan it and a big trip. But at the same time, because you're not seeing your family and friends so often, when you do go home, it feels very special and very memorable. So that's the flip side of it. And yeah, the fact that we can still connect on Zoom, WhatsApp, technology, you can still keep in touch with your family and friends. So
yeah, it makes it easier.
Makes it a bit easier. But the distance is also tough as well. And maybe we don't always feel it. We don't always know there's homesickness. But sometimes when we go back, we realize, what I was experiencing before might have been a little bit of homesickness, but you don't know it sometimes until you go home. So
until you go back, and
yeah, it's challenging.
Or sometimes until you see how things have changed in your town, and you see, oh my God, this wasn't here. Like, what's going on? And everything has changed. When was the last time you went to the UK?
So it would be Christmas. So Christmas of this year, so 2019 to 2020, New Year. I was there for 1 month.
So you barely made it before the coronavirus.
Yeah, I came back, and it was initially the fires that was starting. And then once that chaos subsided, the issue with Corona replaced it. So you're right, it was a really strange year. It's been a strange year.
It's been a strange year. But I'm very happy to see that you have been doing things. Like, you're making the most of it with your classes. You got a job, you're studying, you got your visa approved immediately. That was great. It was a great feeling.
Thank you to you, Paulina, for that.
No, it was thank you. Just let me tell them quickly. Es que Frankie es mi estudiante y su visa la aprobaron en 2 segundos. I think it was like 2 seconds or something. I don't even know. Pero fue rapidísimo y estábamos muy felices porque se la dieron así. We were a bit worried, actually, and then it just came through, and yay! It was very
great.
good.
But thank you so much I want to say, for the support that Latinoz education you, Paulina, gave was amazing, and it helped me with that process, made it a lot easier.
Oh, thank you, Frankie. Well, it's our job, so you're very welcome. Don't worry about that. Well, I don't know if you want to say something else. I haven't seen if we have any questions from the audience. Well, you have a lot of hi, a lot of people saying hi. No, they can't see you. We fixed that. Eunice, you probably remember her. She's my sister. She said hi.
Hi. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, she was in the last class, I think.
Yes. Yeah,
everyone's saying hi. So I don't know how many of them are still here, but thank you all for joining. Lots of people joined. And I don't know, Frankie, do you wanna say something else? What advice would you give students that want to come to Australia? Whether they're from the UK, whether they're from Latin America, what would you say is the most important thing that they have to prepare in advance to come?
I think take some time before looking at the visa to think about which occupation would be the most suitable, what you would enjoy the most, and also which and how you could best use your skills to potentially get a permanent position, because I didn't have that idea before I came to Australia. So it was very much, I was going with the flow a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think if you have an understanding maybe of what could an ideal future in Australia look like, so what would that be, then you could plan a little bit about what course you would need, what extra work experience you want to get, so you're a bit more prepared as you arrive.
Absolutely. Yeah, because sometimes, as you said, it happens that you come for one thing and then you realize, oh, I really like it, so I want to stay. And then, I don't know, 2 years have passed by and then you have to change your profession. And that's not, I mean, that's not negative. It's actually something that happens quite often.
Yeah.
But if you already know that you wanna have a future here, maybe it's good to think your options beforehand, right? Like before making an investment.
But like you said, once you have that, be prepared to go with the flow as well, and experience the change, and not get too down on yourself if it doesn't go the way you want. Just enjoy the journey.
Exactly. It's an experience. Yeah. Like no matter how long, or no matter how, like if it's not a straight line on the pathway, if it's like a zigzag, it doesn't matter. Like it's still going to be like a super valuable learning for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. It really is.
All right. Well, Frankie, that was it. Thank you so much again for taking this interview. I don't know, I think one of your followers is here, Free Folk.
Oh, yeah. Hi, that's Michelle.
Oh, Michelle, hi. Yeah, I've seen her. Yeah. So she said hi. But we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much again, Frankie, for everything, for your classes to my students, for being my client, one of my favorite clients, and of course, for taking this interview and give us your time.
Yes, it was a pleasure, Paulina. Thanks so much for inviting me on. And I'm excited to do more partnerships and more projects as well coming up.
Absolutely. We're going to have another class next month. So we're still planning on what's going to be about. It's probably going to be about phrasal verbs and things that people have a lot of questions about, like why is it bent over, or like why write down, why is it down? You know what I mean? Like why do you have to use composed verbs? So we're gonna have that, and yeah, just stay tuned so we can announce the date, but it's gonna be in September because August is gone basically. So yep,
exactly. No, I'm excited for that. Collocations. Yeah,
me too. All right. Thank you so much, Frankie. And I'm going to speak Spanish now. Muchas gracias a todos los que se conectaron a live aquí en Instagram y acá en Facebook. No olviden darle like y sigan a Frankie en sus redes sociales, tanto en YouTube como en Instagram. Lo pueden encontrar como Frankie Says IELTS. I'm just telling them about your social media links. It's both of them, YouTube and Instagram, are Frankie Says IELTS, right? Both of them. So they can find you like that. Okay. So no se les olvide seguirlo. De verdad pone muy buen contenido para poder practicar su inglés mientras estén en casa. Así que cualquier duda que tengan también lo pueden contactar por ahí. Y yo les agradezco mucho de nuevo haber estado por acá. Así que muchas gracias. Thank you, Frankie, and see you soon.
Thank you, Paulina. And see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.